Issue 230. Oh boy, I know what happens at the end of this. I haven't been so reluctant to read an issue since issue 39. There's a flash of light, and Sonic... Oh, there's a bunch of recap wasting your time. Finally, we see Sonic saying there was a 10-second time rewind, and he saves Sally at last. He runs down the hallway holding her, being fast enough to avoid the fire blast trap. As I wonder why all that time travel stuff happened for Sonic in the first place, and Sally for no reason doesn't ask Sonic how he knew about the trap, Eggman tries to press a button and rages about the cosmic reset button not working. Again, this kind of button came completely out of nowhere, and I really find it hard to believe that he could make such a button. It's not like he has all 7 emeralds, or super emeralds. That'd be the only way I'd really buy this. Snively says that he's not reading any problem with the button, and Eggman complains about not being able to not only roboticize the world, but also reboot it. I guess that's what the name Operation Clean Sweep was supposed to foreshadow. Eggman just barely avoids losing his sanity again, his eye changing to the Robotnik black and red before arbitrarily changing back to looking like sunglasses. Is that his eye? Or sunglasses that can change color to look black and red because they magically detect that he's going nuts. If those aren't his sunglasses but his actual eyes, then why did he look the same when he was de-roboticized? Snively says that Stage 2 is ready to fire, but Sonic and Sally are on their way here, calling Sally such a formal title as the princess for some reason when he hates her. Eggman gets into his Eggmobile while confident, and Sally says in front of a computer monitor that she thinks most of the Death Egg's power is being directed to a deck below. Nicole says that the doctor's system is very secure and it was difficult just to get just that much information, so she'd need more time. At least her bullshit hacking powers feel a little more acceptable here because she's having difficulty with it. But now I'm wondering why she didn't always have this much trouble doing this. They don't have that much time, so they'll have to just go down and see what's taking up so much power. Sonic quickly looks into the next elevator or whatever, paranoidly expecting for a hidden cannon, and Sally gets worried because of his caution, as the two still haven't talked about how Sonic could know about the cannon ahead of time. Well, there really isn't much time, and Sonic runs so fast holding her that they don't have much time to talk about it while he's running. They both go to a giant roboticizer. Giant? Looks normal size to me. Eggman says that it's a world roboticizer, and Sonic surprisingly bursts out laughing and says that the BEM aliens made sure that nobody could ever be roboticized again. We still haven't got an explanation for how they managed that, by the way. No, they cast a spell or anything. Eggman says that the flash of light and momentary disorientation was just phase 1 of how he changed the rules back. So now he can roboticize people again. Huh? And we'll never get this explained. I mean, when Sonic last used Chaos Control, didn't he time travel to before the Genesis Wave even happened? Therefore, making it so that it was as if it was never done in the first place? Therefore, the effects of it, as in, like, making roboticization possible again, shouldn't have lasted. So that doesn't make any sense. It's not like Eggman rewrote the universe to be exactly the same way as before, except roboticization is possible again, because it was Sonic who last did a sort of... And even then, it wasn't... Like, maybe he did rewrite the universe in the Genesis Wave, but Sonic traveled back in time, so the Genesis Wave couldn't have happened. Eggman just pressed the button and it didn't work. So, how did Sally get... Huh? Then Eggman asks Sally to recall what happens when he tries to roboticize something mechanical. An explosion, of course. Eggman says triumphantly that by doing this, he could get all of Gun's forces and all of the United Federation blown back to the Stone Age. This is pretty creative. Then he says that he can do that to destroy the Nanite City as well. Sonic expresses horrified concern over his father, and Sally does that for Bunny and Nicole. It took a bit for me to figure out why they were expressing concern over just those individuals instead of saying something like, all my loved ones. And then I remember that they're all with robot parts, so they'd all explode. Sally warns Eggman that by doing this, he'll destroy every chapter of his Dark Egg Legion. Of course, he doesn't care, and explains that he'll have millions of robot slaves to rebuild his robot army. I'd like to point out that this explosion consequence of roboticizing an entire planet wasn't pointed out the previous time this was attempted. I guess Robotnik wasn't aware of those consequences back then. But it feels like they're already running out of ideas here because we already saw a villain try to roboticize the world, and now they're just trying to make it more threatening than before when that's really redundant. They should have never bothered with this because it's not that new of an idea. Sonic says, "I never should have shown you a shred of mercy, you sick," and doesn't get to finish the sentence. But yeah, I'm totally in agreement with him. I'm glad he's realizing he was wrong. Too bad it's probably going to be something he goes back on for no reason whatsoever instead of him killing him. Sonic is attacked by Metal Sonic out of complete fucking nowhere in a Diabolos Ex Machina because God forbid we let Sonic attack Eggman even once. Eggman jokes that Sonic was about to swear when he's never swore in front of him before, and Sonic is the perfect audience surrogate here, saying, "Okay, I'm officially getting tired of Metal Sonics." Then Sonic has to deal with Silver Sonic as well as Metal Sonic. Sally vanishes using Sonic as the perfect distraction, and Sonic lets her carry out her plan, staying there fighting robots. When I first saw the Silver Sonic come up to him when he was fighting Metal Sonic, I assumed that Sonic was having a flashback to when Silver Sonic distracted him and Sally got destroyed, but instead that didn't happen. I was expecting Sonic to realize that Sally could get herself in huge trouble from stubbornly running off by herself thinking she could be fine on her own again, but instead, he seems to make the same mistake as with Silver Sonic and fight robots. I'm not sure how they could have stopped Eggman's plan without Sally doing what she's gonna do, but still. And again, why does it have to be Sally using Nicole for this and not literally anyone else when it's really Nicole who's doing all the work? Sally asks Nicole if she's patched into the network, and Nicole complains that because the defensive software remains formidable, it'll take hours to break the encryption. Sally says that they have minutes, and asks if they could block the command signal or confuse startup processes. She knows a lot about technology to even think to ask these questions. Nicole says that she's locked out and is ready to fire. Then Nicole says that she could potentially invert the beam to this exact point. This would cause Sally to be roboticized. Sally agrees without even the slightest hesitation right away, logically since it's better for just her to suffer, and she tells Nicole to make sure her core programs are safe at home, and just give her a manual executable so that she knows what to type into her. We see Nicole's screen saying that her download to the server of the Nanite City is complete, the beam inverse override is complete, and we see a message saying, "Goodbye, my friend." Sally sheds a tear, remembers Sonic kissing her while knowing full well that we'll never see that again, and she pushes the button on Nicole. Eggman screams about explosions happening that literally blow up some of the Death Egg itself. Why does this happen? Oh, I guess it's because the roboticizer beam was directed at the metal Death Egg. But wait a minute, it was only directed to the exact point Sally and the "I transported my brain away anyways" Nicole was. Did it trying to roboticize Nicole's empty handheld form really cause that much exploding? And wait a minute, if Tails was flying around the Death Egg on the tornado for this long, and we heard about the Freedom Fighter Special also flying, why the hell didn't their missiles just damage the Death Egg to the point where it would be impossible for any of this to happen? Okay, I guess it's invincible from the outside with the ring energy that protected it from Ixis, but, Tails had no problem shooting at a certain point on its exterior to get Sally and Sonic an entrance into it. Ring energy or not. And another thing, Ixis could have easily gone through that entrance and helped out, destroying the Death Egg from the inside with his crystal powers as Sonic and Sally left it. So yeah, this is arbitrary. What's also arbitrary is that while Eggman suffered some minor burns and stuff surrounded by rubble and is in such rubble that he hopes it finished Sonic off, Sonic is of course perfectly fine. The only damage he sustained was to his gloves. Metal Sonic got a lot more damage than him. The story ends with Sonic horrified at learning what happened to Sally. Oh, there's a missing side story. It's the Generations prologue. Totally worthless. It doesn't even seem to have different dialogue. What a waste of comic space. This was by Ian Flynn. Sally gets turned into a robot in a world where there's no deroboticizer. Okay, plenty of problems here. First of all, this concept isn't exactly original. Sally got herself roboticized for one issue in the early comic. Notice that I said one issue. Not only is this concept totally unoriginal, and thus has almost no justification for being used, but it stretches out to the end of the comic to the point where it never gets resolved. They basically murdered her here. We're never going to see Sally as we know her in the actual comic ever again. If that's not overly depressing, nothing is. Second, it's not like I hate this concept. Well, I do because of the scary way it makes Sally look. It may be uncomfortable even the issue was first used in. But it's at least kind of interesting, and I was pleasantly surprised with the way her character was after this point. It was already done before though, as we already saw everything we needed to see with it. And it's sad when the early comic writers had a much better understanding of how to handle the concept than Flynn did. They had it happen for a more logical reason, and she got de-roboticized pretty quickly, right when it all came to a head. So even though her being rescued could be seen as too easy because it just required her being hit with a magic laser, it still felt climactic because it was right before she was going to be forced to roboticize her friends. They had the concept happen and reach its most climatic point and end like it should in one issue. It wasn't dragged out, and the writer knew what he was doing better. With Flynn, it seems like he knew that by definition, Sally being de-roboticized would have to be epic because it would be important. But it'd also be a really quick affair because it's just a split second to happen. So he kept postponing her being returned to normal because he didn't know that all it would take to make it epic enough is to have her be de-roboticized just before something terrible happens because of her. There, that's all you need. If he wanted to make this into an arc, okay, this can be done for 3 or 5 issues, not the rest of the comic. When it's a foregone conclusion that she'll be de-roboticized anyways, because we saw future Sally and she looked pretty non-robotic to me. Third, this concept didn't even need to be used again because it logically shouldn't have. Ixis should have gone into the Death Egg since Sonic and Sally got an entrance for themselves in it just fine. He should have gone in and been a great help with his magic, which would have given the city and council a bit more legitimate reason to see him as a good guy instead of no reason at all, serving well to the Ixis arc, while also preventing anything from happening to Sally. Instead, the writer completely forgot about him, not caring at all about trying to make him do anything good to be refreshing. Like, it comes off as extremely sloppy. A wizard goes against the Death Egg, which Eggman made a big deal of. And that plot thread just gets immediately dropped? I mean, it is explained a little later, but it's an explanation that should have never even happened. Fourth, another reason this shouldn't have happened is that Tails was flying around the Death Egg on his tornado and the Freedom Fighter Special was flying around too. So they should have just continuously shot at the Death Egg with missiles and destroyed it eventually, while they were serving as a distraction. Meaning that Sally shouldn't have had to do that at all. No, the Death Egg isn't really invincible, because Tails clearly shot a hole in it. Immunity says this is magic or not. And since they already had the Freedom Fighter Special flying around, since they had 2 planes, there's absolutely no reason that Tails couldn't have flown into the Death Egg with his tornado too, and left the picking Sonic and Sally up part to the Freedom Fighter Special, which was completely forgotten about by the writer doing nothing whatsoever with it in the sky. So with Tails and Ixis there, not only should Silver and Metal Sonic have been a piece of cake, but Sally should have never really gotten hit by the trap at all because she might have been supervised enough to not make that stupid decision of running off on her own, like she's early witch costume Sally all over again. Those 2 robots would have been destroyed, and Sonic might not have been so preoccupied with them later on. Fifth, okay, so Sally gets arbitrarily roboticized. But you know what turned her back to normal the last time? A portable de-roboticizer, which Snively and Eggman had made and had a supply of delivered for some reason. It wouldn't be the first time that a solution for the heroes came out of nowhere. Why couldn't Rotor make one of those things? Getting her back to normal in just issues. Why the hell didn't Rotor, when he first saw the portable de-roboticizer, study it to the fullest to learn how to make one himself and make a whole bunch of them? Not only would that have ended up letting the heroes de-roboticize the Robian colony of Knothole themselves, earning themselves a major victory, well, I guess the BEM could still de-roboticize the rest of the planet if that takes so long. Not only that, but Rotor could have a supply of de-roboticizers on hand just in case. I mean, they established a rule where you can only be de-roboticized by the same thing that roboticized you, but that portable de-roboticizer didn't roboticize Sally. She was made that way by being thrown into a totally different roboticizer. So that rule doesn't apply. There's never been established any inventions that Rotor, Tails, or Uncle Chuck can't make. Especially not if they all put their heads together. So there's absolutely no reason that they couldn't make a de-roboticizer for Sally that they can shoot at her whenever they want. But okay, I guess getting her into the roboticizer would be the real problem. And the heroes would feel inclined to hold back because too much damage could damage her beyond repair and kill her. Sally wasn't damaged when she was de-roboticized, and when Jules was de-roboticized, he somehow still had the same injuries as when he was last organic, when he wasn't damaged as a robot. So who knows, what if de-roboticizing Sally after Sonic knocks her out with a head attack ends up returning her to organicness fatally wounded, or with brain damage? But that's why they make a portable de-roboticizer to shoot at her like a laser. Again, actually accurately hitting her with it would be another story entirely, but that's why they wait for her to grab someone and therefore be completely still in front of them. And that's why they make a whole bunch of them at once and have everyone shooting it at her all at once. Perhaps while Sonic's being used as a distraction. Or better yet, he could have one himself and just be guaranteed to accurately hit her because he can move a lot faster than she can. You could argue that the first time the portable de-roboticizer had no reason to exist. It was a stupid Deus Ex Machina plot device, and that might be seen as an underwhelming anticlimactic way to bring Sally back. But well, first off, everyone hated Sally being turned into a robot and probably would have seen her being brought back to normal in any way as worth it. At least I hope everyone hated that. Maybe it's possible that a few rabid Sally haters were happy to see her go. Is this why Flynn did this to her? To appease those Sally-hating game purists? But anyways, Robotnik was seen try to shoot Rotor with the portable roboticizer. And while I dismissed that as overpowered, the Death Egg is that, making just as little sense anyways. And if Rotor could get his hands on one of those, why can't he just reverse his polarity to reverse engineer a portable roboticizer? That'd be a more justified way to get his hands on one than just being discovered by Dulcie and Sonic. Sixth, there was no reason that it had to be Sally who went into the dangerous Death Egg in the first place. I mean, if it was Bunny, she would have blown up in that thing trying to do the same thing Sally did. Or she could have used her cyborg powers to help with the fight against Silver and Metal Sonic, and damage the Death Egg's firing laser beyond repair. Maybe she couldn't hold Nicole and fight at the same time, but that doesn't change the fact that she should have come along. Sally's plan was really dumb, having just her, Nicole, and Sonic go into the Death Egg, while wasting the talents of every other hero, making the planes just fly in circles around the Death Egg. It was giving her the idiot ball so that she could be roboticized. Wait, was the Freedom Fighter special taking Jeffrey to jail? No, Jeffrey clearly said he was being taken up to the Death Egg with them, not that he was being sent to prison. So there's no reason so many heroes should have been wasted being the Freedom Fighter special. There's no reason Tails shouldn't have got along with Sonic as Tornado. And I would have preferred Antoine being the one who ended up roboticized over Sally, or almost anyone else for that matter. You could argue that he's too cowardly to take that option, but he's supposed to have gotten braver, and he shows courage now. He even defended Sonic from a possessed Monkey Khan. And Antoine making the sacrifice would have been a much better decision since a lot less fans like him. It strikes me as a really strange marketing decision to not only effectively kill off one of the most popular characters in the comic, but to ruin her design, making her scary looking at that. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what Sega was thinking allowing that. But again, this would be fine if it was undone in just a couple issues. It's the fact that it was dragged out to the end of the comic and never resolved properly that makes it an atrocious atrocity of a writing decision. And seventh, if Nicole can reverse the firing laser, why can't she just stop it outright while she's at it? Suddenly her magical bullshit powers have restraints now? She was always the living Deus Ex Machina, that was her whole thing. And now suddenly she can't do that? So let's go over this one more time. Sally had no reason to necessarily be roboticized since all the other heroes and even Ixis could have pitched in destroying the Death Egg and therefore destroying its firing laser. Sally being roboticized was already done as a concept to the fullest extent much better, and while the planet roboticizing concept is done much better because of the explosions aspect, it still is unoriginal. So that's two unoriginal epic high stakes concepts, implying that they never should have been used from their lack of creativity, and that the comic had already run out of ideas in the high stakes department. Don't worry, it's gonna get worse. Even if Sally was roboticized, she should have been brought back to normal rather quickly because there's no way her mechanic friends could have made portable de-roboticizers to return her to normal. Instead, he forced the concept to drag out for the rest of the comic. So it had no reason to happen, and had no reason to drag out so long, all while making the very strange marketing decision of basically killing off one of its most popular main characters. Conclusion? This was a terrible writing mistake, and along with Ixis not making it clear that he's brainwashing Jeffrey and the Council, It's one of the several mistakes to come solidifying the Dark Age of Ian Flynn. You can complain about the so-called Dark Age of the comic before Flynn all you want, but at least that always had the freedom fighters you know and love around. And had more originality and creativity rather than trying desperately to be too much like her games. If Sally's supposed to be a Mary Sue, why did she suffer this kind of horrible fate and not someone more hated like Jeffrey? If I didn't know any better, I would have said that the writer outright hated Sally because she really got put through the ringer in this comic. More than any other freedom fighter. And this is the worst way of all. And she's not the only one who's gonna suffer later. Funny how it won't be the game characters who are gonna suffer.